Now, I want to know, I read the synopsis for the movie, and I experience night terrors all the time, and this sounds like a movie that comes from experiencing night terrors. Is that the genesis of this project?
Well, it's funny because I actually have experienced night terrors too, and no, I mean I think that the sense of dread that you feel with night terrors is being able to draw upon those to create the scares in the movie. There's definitely a parallel there, but I don't think it was necessarily drawn from a night terror. I think that it was definitely drawn when Guillermo wrote the script 13 years ago, because he remembered this movie as a kid when he saw it as a kid. I think he was 10 when he first saw it, and it scared the crap out of him, and it stayed. Like it didn't ever go away. And so when he got older and had the opportunity to seek out the rights for it, he jumped all over it and wrote a really terrific, scary script.
Now, what's funny about that is, I guess I didn't do my research. I did not know that this was a remake, which is smart because if I know like almost every movie on the planet and I didn't know this was a remake or realize that, I guess you're not going to be stapled with that stigmata, except for the real hardcore.
Yeah, well, there are definitely some hardcore fans of the original, and they've been quite vocal about their love of the original movie, and it's a great movie, the original movie. The thing of it is, it was a TV movie, and it didn't get the wide audience that a theatrical release would have gotten. So it's definitely flown under the... Because I didn't know about it until Guillermo sent me the script, and then, of course, I watched the movie. I was 1 when it came out, so I didn't know about it. But I had friends that were a few years older than me that definitely knew about it. And they're like, oh, that's the scariest movie I ever saw when I was a kid. And because of that, because they raised the bar so high, that you hope that you can have that same kind of influence on the new audience.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because there's another movie I think it has probably as big of a following, if not more. I think it's called Gargoyles. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's another one of these made-for-TV movies that has this humongous cult following. Is that something you guys ever talked about? I bet he's seen that, because even some of his stuff had been influenced by that movie. You've never seen that?
I've never seen Gargoyles, no. I mean, it's yeah. Well, when did it come out?
It was in the 70s.
Oh, again? Oh, yeah. See, I was born in '72, so I was probably a little... I think when all those great TV horror movies were coming out at that time, I think I was a little too young. Yeah. But I think there weren't movies that I knew about, so I didn't track them down when I was a little older. Growing up in Canada, I guess they probably didn't repeat them in the '80s or whatever, so I didn't see them. But I know that there's all these really fantastic horror movies that came out on TV. It's unfortunate they just don't do that anymore. I was saying in the panel that with The Walking Dead coming out, that as good as I think that's going to be, and I think it's going to be really good, that TV series, that it'll open the doors where networks will go, well, maybe we should go back and start making some horror TV, movies, horror movies for TV.
I was just thinking about one I saw where the hose came alive. Another old horror 70s movie that gets a lot of record, but I don't know the name of that. I just remember the hose comes alive and is attacking the woman out in the yard. It's a haunted house movie, and it scared me so bad. But it's crazy how many of these movies are. Now, I know this has monsters in it.
Yes, it does.
Can you kind of talk about what we can expect from these monsters and maybe give us a hint of what they look like?
Well, I won't give you a hint what they look. Well, we actually show a hint of what they look like in it, but they're small, like in the original movie. They're just nasty, ugly little manipulative, disgusting things. They sort of toy with her at first, and then it's just full-on viciousness through the rest of the movie. And so we build on every scare, first scare, and then we build on that, and they just get more and more vicious as the movie goes along.
Well, I know Mr. Del Toro made Hellboy, The Golden Army, and in that film there's the little flying gnat creatures. I know they have a name, but I don't remember it. Yeah, the Tooth Fairies. Was he at all inspired to do the Tooth Fairies from the same idea? Does it have a similar theme to it?
There's definitely a nucleus within him that because these things are also predisposed to eating teeth as well, and I think that there's something in him, but there's something inherently scary about damage to your teeth. It's such a personal thing, people's teeth, and like the Marathon Man, that scene in Marathon Man, where they're torturing him and they're pulling. It's just something so revolting about that, and you don't even have to show it; you just have to imply it, which we did in the movie, and it just gets people every time. And so just this idea that these horrible little things are after teeth, there's, there's something really disgusting about that.
Yeah, that's what the monsters are up to. They want your teeth. Is that what it?
They're horrible, vicious little things, and just sort of. Guillermo's very big on fairy tales and folklore, and so drawing the idea of these creatures from that and creating a mythos and mythology around them, we were very we were all over that, with these things and creating these things that I think they're just horrible, disgusting, little ugly things. Yeah, they're great.
No, I mean, because I said I've only seen the synopsis, but when I read it, I was like, that sounds pretty neat. Now I have to ask you, what are these creatures doing with the teeth? Or do they? Oh, they just eat them like calcium pills.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, I know Guillermo. I'm having trouble saying that because I'm losing my voice, and he's got a tongue twister name. He doesn't attach himself to anyone that is not a visionary genius. I'm wondering, well, he doesn't. He always finds the greatest talent. Now, how did you two become hooked up, and how did he find you specifically to direct this movie?
Yeah, he was familiar with my comic book work, specifically Jenny Finn, the book I had done with Mike Mignola. And when I started making the short, after I shot it, I sent him a couple stills, because obviously I'm a huge fan of his. And he has a public email address that he gives out, and I sent him the stills, and he got back right away and was very encouraging, which was nice to hear. And I think he wrote back very Nixey-esque, I think is what he said. And so Nick Nunziata from Chud.com, Nick? Yeah, he made a set visit in Vancouver, and so we hooked up, got along right away. I showed him an assembly of the short, and he was really behind it, and he sort of kept asking me, when is he going to be done? When is it going to be done? Because I have someone I need to show it to. And so once the short was finished, Nick ripped it, put it up on his FTP site. Guillermo was in Budapest in prep on Hellboy 2, and Nick said, "Gotta watch this." And from that, after knowing my comic work and watching the short, told Nick he wanted to talk to me. I gave Guillermo a call, and he told me, I have this script. I wrote it, I think it's 10, 13 years ago. I was going to direct it myself, but now I want to turn it over to a first-time director, have a first-time director do this movie, and are you interested? And it's like, yes. And that's really how it came about. It was just through the 5 years of getting the short done, and then Don't Be Afraid of the Dark sort of fell in not too soon after it was finished.
That's cool. Is Nick a producer on this? I know he's producing a lot of stuff. That's awesome. Now, I want to know, where in the film do the scares come in, and how did you orchestrate the whole setup of the suspense and exactly where the drama, the humor, and then the scares come in? Or is this a humorless movie? That's always possible.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple moments that get a laugh, but it's a pretty scary, straightforward. It's not made for guffaws. It is yeah. And so, we introduce Sally, the little girl, into this new life with a distant father and his new girlfriend that she just can't relate to, and who isn't really interested in becoming a mother. And so it's just a slow burn. We know what is underneath the house because we see it at the beginning of the movie, and we're just waiting for them to discover it. And so are the creatures. They're like, they're calling out to her, like, come and find us. And so the audience is just waiting for that to happen, and it rolls out with her where she's talking with them, and you think, oh, and they're just manipulating the situation, and then you just build on them. So the first scene's pretty scary, and then the second scene's really scary, and then you just keep building and building and building until it's just like all hell busts loose. So.
Now, I had a last question, and she wrapped me up, and it just went out of my head. No, I haven't. It's a good one. I was going to say that the title of the movie, reading the synopsis, and then I see the title of the movie, I automatically think that this is a kid-friendly movie, and you just told me this is an R-rated, gruesome picture. And I don't say that in a bad way, like, it's a kid movie I'm not going to like. I mean, it's a kid movie like Gremlins, where I'd go see it when I was 10 years old, and even that is horrifying. But it sounds like if kids go see this, they might be afraid of the dark. Oh, well, you know, people take their kids to see the weirdest stuff.
It's true. It's true. It's a great name. I love the name because it's something we've all heard. You know, don't be afraid of the dark. And it's such a classic name. And I think the movie is definitely a throwback to the 70s and 80s horror movie. So it completely works within the context of what it is. And the original is, you know, like I said, it came out in 73. It's a scary, scary movie. And I mean, Guillermo loves the title too. I think it's such a fantastic name. And it's something that people remember. You know, when you're trying to think, what was that movie called? No one's going to forget Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Because we've all, you know, in some context, we've all heard that. So